Thom Hartmann here with you. The President of the United States last night giving his State of the Union address. One of the members of the members of Congress assembled. That's the anachronistic phrase that was used back in the days of the founders. Congressman Peter DeFazio from the state of Oregon. One of the favorites of our show, one of my personal favorite members of Congress, a great guy. Congressman DeFazio, welcome back to our program.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the chance as always.
Thank you for being with us. And first of all, Paul Ryan giving the rebuttal with his plan to drop taxes on people who make $460,000 or more by 15% and raise taxes on people who make $13,000 a year or less by 12%. Seems a little bizarre, but
no, those people earning lower incomes will get trickled on.
Yes, there you go. It's called creating a nation of peons.
Yes.
But I'm curious your thoughts on the State of the Union.
Well, just on Paul's take, I have a college intern in the office, and we were watching, and she said, "Boy, that's kind of like the stuff they make me watch for class. You know, it's kind of like a monetarist Friedman lecture, you know. I mean, I once had an exchange with Paul where he said, "Oh, you're one of them," and I said, "One of them what?" He said, "Oh, you're one of those Keynesians." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, right." And so you're like a crackpot monetarist. So anyway,
interesting.
It was not not an inspiring State of the Union. You know, very few specifics. I mean, we got a nod toward transportation, but this president has been either nodding toward or photo-opping transportation his entire tenure, and yet the so-called stimulus spent less than 7% of the entire amount of money borrowed on long-term infrastructure investments, about 4% on transportation. So I was disturbed to see yet again there were no specifics. I did like the fact that he said we're going to end subsidies to the oil and gas industry.
I thought John Boehner was going to choke on his tongue when the president said that.
Didn't he tear up a little bit at that?
He looked like he was holding his breath. I mean, seriously, he looked like he was trying not to react. It was it was incredible.
Yeah, so that was good. That was sort of the high point for me out of a speech that had very few high points. I thought the defense of Social Security was a bit insipid. I mean, he should have reminded people that Social Security did not create one until, of course, the tax holiday this year. But until this year, Social Security has not received one penny of general fund support. It has not contributed one penny toward the deficit or the debt. In fact, Social Security is the largest single holder of U.S. debt and in
the world.
Yes, and because of that, they get a lower rate of return than any other investor in U.S. debt. And he didn't even thank the people of America for that and defend the program adequately.
Yeah, well said. In fact, there was that caveat in there of this generation, or basically current retire. The almost the Republican language, but not quite. On the other hand.
I'm prattling on MSNBC this morning with someone who should know better, Morning Joe. He used to be in Congress, saying, well, we have to increase the retirement age to 67. Well, guess what, Joe? Actually, that was done when you were in Congress. The age is gradually moving up to 67.
Right. Well, tomorrow he gets to be a prophet, right? Hey, it's done.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, clean energy, technology, innovation, education. In many ways, he was saying, I want to continue these, to use Paul Ryan's phrase, Keynesian, these stimulative programs. We're going to continue to move forward with this stuff. This was doubling down because as you well know, every single piece of spending has to originate in the House of Representatives, which is now controlled by John Boehner and the Republicans and Paul Ryan. So wasn't it was
internally contradictory, wasn't it? Didn't he talk about domestic spending freeze just before that? And aren't those just domestic programs?
Well, yeah, but he's also, okay, if he freezes existing programs and he can claw back $100 billion out of the Pentagon, then he's got some money to spend, doesn't he?
Right. If I didn't hear a lot of discussion of cutting the Pentagon, but yeah.
Yeah, he said, close to, I think it was close to $100 billion that Secretary Gates said he could he could take out of the Pentagon.
The last thing I saw from Gates was about $73 billion, which is
okay. Well, it's
It's a start.
It's a start.
So there's a lot more out there.
Sure.
End the war and get out of Afghanistan in a way that makes sense.
Right. He says he's going to do that in July.
$100 billion. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there might be some money he can come out. Frankly, if he doesn't come up with some cash and start spending it at the bottom, get it into working people's pockets, whether it's through infrastructure programs where we're putting people back to work or what, even WPA kind of things. If he doesn't start doing that, he's going to have a high unemployment rate and an economy that sucks going into the 2012 elections, which is not going to be a good thing for him. I mean, he's got to know this.
Yeah, I mean, but we missed some tremendous opportunities over the last 2 years. We had the majority, and I wanted to move ahead with a 6-year transportation bill, basically doubling our investment, putting millions to work and tightening up the Buy America requirements, so that we'd be getting a 6-to-1 return on that investment. With if you manufacture a bus in the United States of America, or a streetcar, or a light rail car, or the steel for a bridge and fabricate bridges. I mean, the multiplier effect is tremendous. In addition to being more fuel efficient and more competitive in the world economy, because we can move our goods and people better, that opportunity is kind of gone. The Republicans are saying not a cent more for transportation infrastructure.
Well, all that's true, but do you think
to do it? But where's he going to get it?
Right, all that's true, but do you think that Ben Nelson would have voted for that when it got to the Senate?
Well, I was, who knows? Yeah, you're right. 60 votes, the Senate, disaster.
Yeah, so it's
tinkering around the edges. They're filibustering to keep the filibuster, as far as
it seems to me that what the Republican strategy for the last 2 years was, and it's unchanged, is keep the economy in the crapper, keep the economy in the tank, and do that right up until the elections of 2012. In fact, arguably even make it worse. There was an article in the Financial Times, and this wasn't an op-ed. This was a news article in what day is today? Wednesday, must have been Monday's Financial Times. Maybe it was last Friday's, in which they were talking about the price of steel and how commodities are kind of going into bubble state again. Steel's gone up 33% in the last month. And they said, expect steel prices to continue to rise until the summer of 2012. And this is like, dog whistle talk to investors that, the word on the street is they're going to crash the economy just in time for the election so that they can get a Republican into the White House. And, if he doesn't fundamentally change things like our trade policies,
right,
I don't see how we're going to have an economy that works.
Yeah, no, and on Korea, they're touting it as a great new thing, a change in trade policy. The biggest single problem with it, and there are many problems, non-tariff barriers and others aside for the moment, is that every producer in Korea gets all their GST refunded when they export their goods, and when a U.S. good comes in, it gets all the GST added. So we've immediately got over a 20% differential if we were producing with inputs as inexpensive as those in Korea.
Now, what does GST stand for? I'm assuming T is tax.
It's their general sales tax, or it's like
sales tax.
They most major, I think all of our competitor nations have very substantial GSTs.
Or VAT taxes as well.
Yeah, VAT,
value-added
GST,
taxes.
Yeah. In this case, it's a GST.
And so European exporters get a refund of their VAT taxes when they export?
Yep.
Oh, geez.
Yep, and we pay them when we come in. So
if we passed a VAT tax, we could actually use that as a sort of non-tariff tariff.
Or we could have a tariff.
Yeah, which is what I'm a fan of.
but just one other thing. I guess the question is, with what the Republicans have done by stalling needed investment in America in our transportation infrastructure, our education, why do they hate the country so much?
Why do Republicans hate the country? Well, because hating the country for 4 years will get them back political power, I would guess.
And then what will they do with it if you don't believe in government?
They'll give money to billionaires.
Oh, I forgot.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Forgot about that.
I forgot that part.
Congressman Peter DeFazio, DeFazio.house.gov. Thank you, Congressman.
For audio and video archives, go to thomhartmann.com.